there was something about watching all these categories play out, and I paid close attention. I was like, wait, sound mixing gets an Oscar, gives a speech. Documentary short gets an Oscar, gives a speech. Looks like it's the same Oscar that Best Picture gets, the same Oscar that original screenplay gets. And I promise you, and this is no lie, after watching those Oscars, I called, and I already had this idea kind of percolating, but I had never shared it. And I called my manager, Monica, and I was like, I think I have an Oscar-winning short film idea. And I was like, I said, I have an idea. And I said, if we do it right, I think we can win an Oscar. This is like 2014, the idea with Hair Love.
Let's Shoot with Pete Chatmon is a podcast on directing for anybody that's quite simply ever watched anything. Pete converses with a wide range of fellow directors, writers, actors, showrunners, producers, executives, and more on a journey to determine just what makes a good director and why we'll always need stories. The Director is Pete Chatmon's digital studio, built on the pillars of craftsmanship that ensure a unique vision. I'm talking about story, innovation, perspective. Learn more about The Director, and better yet, get your official Director's Chair wear by visiting www.drctr.video. That's drctr.video.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 22 of Let's Shoot with Pete Chatmon. We are gonna call this the beginning of season 2. It's been a little bit of a break from those tense times in early November, right before Election Day, when we brought you our last episode, which was a conversation around the Wednesday morning narrative podcast that I directed, starring Kelly McCreary and Coleman Domingo, Spencer Garrett, Blake DeLong, Joy Nash, Louis Ozawa, and a bunch of other talented folks, co-written by Candace Sanchez McFarland. It's my podcast, so I will plug my own stuff. But we're back and excited to dive into season 2. Just a little bit of an update. Obviously, we have a new president. Despite what other folks may have thought, the votes did count, and we are looking at, we're about into day 60 of this Biden-Harris presidency. The vaccine is getting pumped into people's arms, and it looks like there's a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel as far as the world getting back to business at a higher percentage. I saw today that the CDC announced that kids under a certain age could return to school with a social distancing measure of 3 feet. So I guess they're slowly getting to the point of peeling back some of those precautionary protocols, and hopefully holidays by the end of the year, we'll be sitting around breaking bread with friends and family. But for myself, the past few months have been busy despite COVID. Grateful to be on set and working. After the last episode in November, I directed episode 15 of Blackish, which will be airing next week. It's called Jack's First Stand. Please check that out. I did an episode of The Unicorn that aired last week, episode 212, called Out with the Old. I directed episode 106 of Blind Spotting for Stars. It's a really dope show coming this summer from Rafael Casal, David Diggs, starring Jasmine Cephas Jones, and it's gonna be dope, y'all. It's really it's poetic, it's narrative, it's a mixture of movement and story and poetry in many ways, and very excited for that. And right now I'm in the middle of I'm on day 12 of 20 of a 2-episode block of You for Netflix, episode 307 and 308. And in fact, I'll be heading to set the minute I hit done recording on this intro. But this intro is for a friend of mine, Matthew A. Cherry, an Oscar winner, one that I know personally. How about that? Congrats to that brother. I've had the pleasure of watching his journey over the last decade, from the last fall to the Oscar to even most recently, he has a deal at Warner Brothers. He's got a feature heist film in the making called The Come Up. That'll be starring Jermaine Fowler. It was just announced that he'll be doing a pilot, the pilot episode and the second episode for a new show called Kings of Napa from Claw's showrunner, Janine Sherman Barwa. And basically, the brother is working in all aspects of TV and film, and it's exciting to see. And what many of you may or may not know, I don't know, is that he was in the NFL as a wide receiver, and he's made that pivot to director of film and TV. So I invite you to join us on this episode with Matthew A. Cherry, and there'll be more to come for season 2. I really want y'all to kind of, get your questions in here. We're going to continue our conversations around story, both the craft, the business, the technique, the psychology, and everything in between. So here we go. Matthew A. Cherry. Let's shoot with Pete Chatmon.
Roll sound.
Speed.
The interview. Take 1.
Action.
I was going to ask you, man, what do you call yourself? Like when you define yourself in the industry, are you a multi-hyphen? Are you one word? Like, what do you lead with?
Man, definitely lead with directing. And I had to do everything else to get to directing because, I think like a lot of people you find, when you realize that that's what you want to do and you try to find scripts that are out there, a lot of times it's just like, it's a combination of things like the material you don't connect with, people's timing is different than your timing. There's a cool project you want to do, but they want to kind of take their time and you have a more sense of urgency. And so, I just always have found myself like being impatient and wanting to move myself forward as quickly as possible. And so, my first narrative, really the first thing I ever wrote in Hollywood, quote unquote, was like music video treatments. And, I can get into it. Long story short, you may not even know this story. So my second year in LA, I'm a set PA on Heroes. And, super just wasteful show, man. Like every cast member, 2-banger trailer, lights and equipment, had 4 sound stages on the Sunset Gower lot, never used any of them. We're always on location. And what I did was, this was the first time I ever saw Black directors doing a genre show. Mind you, it's like 2008. So this is before the whole diversity boom and directing and everything.
Who'd you see?
I saw Anthony Hemingway, I saw Steve Mann, and I saw Eric Landeville. And the creator, Tim Kring, he was a huge fan of The Wire. So that's how, Steve and Anthony got involved. And, I the year before I PA'd on Girlfriends, and I was like, all right, like I expect to see Black directors on a Black show, right? But this, especially back then, it was like a huge deal to see, Black directors doing a big genre show for network. And Heroes was huge at the time. And so seeing these cats that look like me really, like the light bulb hit. And then what I did was, I'll tell you my master plan. So to get my first directing credit, what I did was in college, I majored in radio TV broadcast. And so I had like an intimate knowledge of like the Billboard chart. So I used my little $200-$300 every 2 weeks of PA money. And I spent a whole check on resubscribing to Billboard magazine. YouTube was kind of new at the time. And so with the Billboard, I would look and see all the new songs that would chart. And if the song, didn't have a video, I'll go on YouTube, and if the song didn't have a video, I would then go on MySpace. I'm dating myself. MySpace was a popular social. Yeah, MySpace was a popular social network at the time.
With Tom, my man Tom, everybody's first friend.
Yep, everybody's first friend. And so what I did was I would basically during my lunches, and sometimes, I was the last person to have to like lock up the set and the first person to be there. And sometimes in my earliness or lateness, I would knock out a treatment. So I try to do like 2 or 3 a day. And what I also did, being the last PA hired, I got really cool with all the crew members. And mind you, again, really wasteful show. I was always picking up lights and random equipment. And so I just went to all the department heads and I was like, yo, like, I'm trying to direct my first thing. Like, I noticed we got a lot of equipment laying around. Would y'all be okay if on the weekend, we shoot Monday through Friday, if I borrowed a little something, to get my own shoot going. And they were all like, yo, it's cool. But just, if you get caught, it's on you, right? And so I was like, bet, this is my film school situation. And so, the first things that I wrote was treatments. And what I would do is every lunch, I would sit down and, instead of eating, I would basically listen to the song 100 times, transcribe the lyrics. And then I would just like, okay, what's the first thing that comes to my mind? And then I would write blindly to, MySpace. There was no verified accounts. This is like the wild, wild west of social media. And so I would just like make it a point to do this every day. And so my first treatments were like basically MySpace messages, and I would be writing them out live as I'm composing the message. And it'd be like something to the effect of like, my name is Matthew Cherry. I know you don't know me from the can of paint, but heard your song. Notice you don't have a video. I got access to equipment in LA. If you can get out here, I'll shoot it for you for free. Here's the idea. And I would literally drop like 4-page Word documents in a MySpace message. With the entire treatment, like, from top to bottom thought out. And ended up doing over 120 of them, over the course of the season. And out of those,
how often were you shooting? Like that, we would shoot every weekend?
No. So mind you, I wasn't shooting the videos. These are just the treatments. So this is me trying to get the job.
Treatments.
Yeah.
Got it.
So this is me trying to get the job. No. Oh my God, that'd be amazing. I'd probably be further along if that was the case. No. So, and then out of the 120 plus treatments I did, 2 artists responded. In the first, this artist named Terry Dexter, and I ended up directing the video for her for the song called "I'm Free." And then the second situation that happened was this artist out of Philly, Kindred the Family Soul, this married couple, and they were on Hidden Beach. And then the second video through Kindred, they connected me to like everybody in the Philly circle. And so they connected me to Jasmine Sullivan's mom, who was her manager at the time. And so my third video was just kind of like makeshift short film. I saw an opportunity. There was a song that everybody was playing, but there was no video. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna shoot a short film for the song and just like try to get to a concert and shoot footage, and I'm gonna marry the two. Right. And ended up.
Now let me ask you: were you shooting? Were you camera? Like, were you DP as well? Were you doing?
Yeah.
What jobs were you doing?
A little bit of everything, man. Depending on the job. Like the first couple, I was rocking with this cat Scott Abear, who was a photographer, so he would like DP it. But I would do everything else. Like literally, I'm like, there's PA days too, so I was eager to move chairs and equipment, just do whatever needed to be done. But yeah, man, pretty much ADing, whatever it took, man, getting the lunch, driving the truck, doing it all. And that third video for Jasmine, In Love with Another Man, ended up going viral. And, that was the one that really opened the doors to, and the song ended up being nominated for a Grammy, not the video, but the song. And so it just like blew up. And that really just like opened the doors. And so like those were like the first writing and directing opportunities. And they were, and my plan always too was like to shoot, if I ever did a video, I wanted to shoot it like a short film. So I even had Dorian in the video for Bilal, the song called Little One, that kind of talked about, like the loss of a son. And it was kind of a crazy story. I had him and Erica Hubbard in it. So, I just try to make a short film use the budget to make a project.
I love this, man. So, and I this is probably somewhere around the time that I became aware of you. Like, you're one of those cats where I was thinking before we got on today, I was like, when did I meet dude? And I literally don't know. I can't put a finger on it, but I know I remember all the music videos. I remember watching that transition to short films and then web series and then TV and every Oscars. Yep. But let's rewind back to I'm going to kind of jump around a little bit, but I want to ask what being an athlete, how did that impact this approach? Because I imagine there's a great deal of discipline in being a high performing athlete that transferred to entertainment. Like, how did you find that fed into your work ethic here? Oh man,
very much so. Crazy thing is, I played in the NFL for 3 years, and then my fourth year, my first year after retiring, I was on set as a production assistant. Like talk about a
Right.
wake up call, right? Like, basically you go from getting served to being the server. And the big thing I would say is a couple of things, obviously teamwork, knowing that it's not just about you, not just about your position. I think that was probably the most humbling of it all is like, when you direct, it's like you're basically directing traffic. It's more like a coach as opposed to a player where, you're answering 1,000 problems. You have to answer every single question. Why is the shirt red? Why is the car blue? Why are the
Right.
walls this color? Like everything lies on you. And so that was a big one, just knowing that, being a wide receiver, I can run a perfect route. And if the quarterback gets sacked because the lineman messed up their blocking, I get no pass. And same thing in filmmaking, perfect take. You gave the actor the perfect direction. They're killing it, but now the shot's out of focus. Now you got to go again. And so, very similar in that way. And I think the other thing, two other things, the second one being just setting goals and knowing how to, being very intentional with like milestones and goals and setting them. And, being an athlete, you have to work towards that. Like, I was never like that freakishly gifted dude that like just woke up and went to the club and now I can run a 4.40. Like I always had to work at it. And, even being at a smaller school in college, like, the reason I willed myself into the NFL in a lot of ways of like just training rigorously and doing above and beyond to try to, get on people's radars. And, I think with film, it's a similar thing. Like you have to have a plan. Like, I always really specialize in like seeing the big picture before it happens. And like, all right, this is the goal and being able to sell that to get other people motivated. So that's a big one. And, the last one I think is just having, and it's going to sound crazy, but having this like 1 in a million mentality, like knowing how few people, when you're an athlete, you get the speech every level. Only X amount of y'all are going to get a full scholarship to college. Only X amount of y'all are going to play in high school. Only X amount of y'all out of that group is even going to make it to the league. And so when you make it to that level, you just have this feeling of like anything is possible. And like, whatever y'all are saying can't be done, like that doesn't apply to me because people have been telling me this my whole life. And, I'm going to figure out a way where you already gave up because you didn't even think about it in the first place. And so, I think those are all like the really big three things that, I never went into Hollywood. I knew it would happen eventually if I could just stick and stay. But I knew that my time would come, I always went into it with that idea. And a lot of it was that athlete mentality and, knowing that you have to work hard for it. I never wanted anything handed to me. I never expected that, I wanted to earn it. And so, it's just so crazy how even like how a lot of things have played out. Obviously you get help along the way and, you have to be smart about how you work situations and, great team. And, I've been lucky enough to really be blessed with like 3 Titan mentors, I would say, in my life at different facets of my life, Ava DuVernay, Barry Jenkins and Jordan Peele. And, every kind of facet of my career, they helped me kind of get to that next level. And it's been really cool.
Let's sit in that for a little bit because, I was talking with my producer before hopping on. I'm always like, what question do you have, and of course, my notes are kind of all over the place here. But he was wondering like how you made that transition from PA to director. And you just said there were kind of 3 people along this journey. Who opened the biggest door for you and how did you make that happen? So I guess if we reshape that, like, how did you come to have, Ava, Barry, Jordan as people that you could reach out to?
All 3 extremely different circumstances. Ava was the first person. So, growing up in Chicago, I was the popcorn movie guy. Like, I didn't even know what an indie film was until I think I saw Have Plenty in like, in college or something, right?
Yeah.
That was my first time ever even seeing like a lower budgeted movie like that. I thought growing up, I was like, a movie, you got to have $1 million, millions of dollars. Like, there's no such thing as like doing a movie on the low. And Ava, when she did I Will Follow, that was the first time I ever saw somebody that looked like me that I was like actually in close proximity to, do that. I know you have did it prior, with Premium and everything, but sadly that wasn't on my radar in Chicago. And I've gone to, obviously go back and, rewatch it later. But but basically what happened is I was in Chicago. I was a dude that always put my own PA money into my projects. And so I just did that to a point where like I couldn't afford to pay rent anymore. So I had to like move back home to Chicago to kind of, replenish my reserves basically.
Right.
And when I was back home, the Chicago International Film Festival was happening, and I Will Follow happened to be playing. And I was like, kind of heard about this movie. Ava's, obviously a master, publicist, turned filmmaker and everything. So she definitely knew how to get the word out. I was like, man, let me check this out. And so, I'm in the movie, I'm watching it. I'm like, oh shit, this is, a day in a life. This is crazy.
Right.
Q&A, she says the budget, $50,000. I was like, what? You could do a movie for $50,000? Like, in my mind is swirling. I'm like, all right, what's another day in a life movie I could do? You know what I'm saying? You try to do a bad version of you try to think of a bad version of other people's ideas. And then I remember, you've been to festivals before, like line is crazy to do the meet and greet after. And this was like the one time I was like, you know what? I have nothing to lose. I'm gonna just stay in this line. If it take me 30 minutes, I'm gonna just stay here. And I met her. She probably, probably like everybody else who sold her, probably in her mind sold them a dream. I was like, I used to live in LA, I'm about to come back out there. And I would just love to be of service. I would love to help, in any way you need, to kind of get the project out there. And she got, you could tell when people were like, all right, whatever, kid, we'll see. And and for me, I was like, all right, when I move back, this is, I'm gonna reach out. And I moved back. I did. And long story short, helped her, when she was trying to work the film online, helped her get her on Twitter, in the socials, was there the day of the premiere, helping to change people's minds in the theater. They're like, no, don't see Ringo, come and see this, So she was just a huge inspiration and just like an entry point into the world of indie film. I would not have known that was even a viable option and to get love for it in the way that she did, had I not met Ava. Barry comes in, if you follow Barry on Twitter, he's an avid football fan, just a huge football fan. When he's not talking about movies, he's probably talking about football. And also,
did he play
in high school? Yeah, he played in high school. And, I think we just connected over football. And, Barry was, when I was doing my research after connecting with Ava, Barry was like, he just... he was on the cover of Filmmaker magazine, Medicine for Melancholy, he was a big deal in that space at the time. And the thing that I loved about his movie is that he really did, I'd heard this style of filmmaking, mumblecore, where it's kind of like improv-y, quiet movies, day in the life, kind of similar thing that Ava did. And he was kind of like getting the same love that like the Duplass brothers were, or Duplass, I forgot how to say his last name. And so, and his movie premiered at South by Southwest. And so, after I did when I was writing last fall, him being an avid football fan, I shot him a couple of drafts, he gave me some feedback. And then, when I submitted to the festival,
you sent the drafts via Twitter?
No.
How you get on the drafts?
No. At this point, this is email, right? We connected on Twitter, but ended up exchanging info. And then long story short, when we started, I had South by on my mind, and when we submitted, I knew that our movie kind of being a little bit more of like a quieter romantic comedy, right? Without all the frills and the set pieces. And so, I knew this wasn't like your typical indie. And, I knew we were going to need help. And so, Barry, I reached out to him and I was like, yo, like your cosign would mean the world, man. Could you, reach out to Janet Pearson, who's the head of the festival, and just kind of, I don't even know how that played out. But I remember getting an email probably a day before they announced from Janet. And it was something to the effect of like, I've been going back and forth in my mind, about letting your film into the festival. It's really solid, but it's just, usually not the type of movie that we enter in. And the whole time I'm like, oh man, we didn't get in. This is a rejection letter. And at the end of it, she was like, but, you know, I have a good feeling about you and I'm going to trust my gut. And, you know, welcome to the festival, basically. I was like, oh, shit. Like, that's crazy, right?
Dope. That's dope.
You know, and I know for a fact that Barry played a big hand in that. And you know, in being a filmmaker, like when you're in the indie space, like, you know, the festival love is a really important part of the process, you know, and to have the first joint. Yeah, you know, to have the first joint premiere at a major festival like that really just like was much needed validation at the time. And Barry even moderated one of our Q&As, which was really dope. You know, before obviously all the hoopla, you know, that surrounds him now, and rightfully so. You know, he was just that guy that would be at festivals and, you know, always showing love to up and coming filmmakers. And then you know, I know I'm taking a lot of time, so I'll get into the.
This is great, man. This is what people want to hear. This is what I want to hear. So this is what they're gonna hear.
There we go. And so the Jordan one was the craziest because, you know, that one was like probably the most organic one through social media, you know? So, you know, I'll tell this part of the journey, you know, you know this too, like when you do an indie film, like I've come to learn, like, you know, hopefully this will change, but especially in the early, you know, in the 2010s, it was like, damn, there can only be one, you know, like one year it was Ava, one year it was, you know, Coogler, one year it was Justin Simeon, one year it was D. Reese. And like, if you're not that filmmaker, that's that one, you're basically back to square zero. You know what I'm saying? Right. You find this money, you figure it out. If you don't get that blessing, like you're basically back to square zero. And that's kind of where I found myself. And, you know, had a couple like close calls, but, you know, a couple projects that didn't go for whatever reason. And, you know, was able to kind of scrap up the money to do 9 rides, which we shot on iPhones. And luckily that got me an agent. And then, you know, the year after that, you know, still, you know, got the agent, but still.
And so we're talking 2016?
2017. Yeah, that's 2016,
okay.
2017. Yep. And so, you know, spring of 2017, Get Out comes out. Oh man, just the shot heard around the world. Everybody's talking about it. You know, I think I'm really good with GIFs and reaction videos. So I like made my point, like feeling after, you know, watching Get Out, and it was some funny GIF. And Jordan followed me. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, you sometimes when like big people like that follow you, you like kind of get in your head about what you should be tweeting. Like, oh, I don't want to say the wrong shit and have them unfollow me, right?
Right.
And before long, I forgot about it because he never interacted with me. Like to the point where I forgot he was following me. And, you know, one day out the blue, and at the time I was doing like this residency at BuzzFeed, working in VR, you know, odd jobs to kind of stay afloat to stay in LA. And so one day out the blue, this is like probably 2 or 3 months after Get Out comes out, I get this DM from him. And long story short, he's like, yo, like, you know, love your voice on social. You know, I want to see if you want to grab lunch sometime. I was like, what? Wow. This is crazy. And I was like, hell yeah. And what I didn't know was behind the scenes, Jordan's wife, Chelsea Peretti, her brother, Jonah Peretti, created BuzzFeed. He's the guy that created BuzzFeed.
Wow.
And so I guess he, you know, I don't know exactly what happened, but, you know, I'm assuming some conversations were had, like, what's up with this dude? Is he a good dude? And I guess it came back down like, yeah, he is. And so, you know, basically, long story short, you know, we grabbed lunch. I was just, you know, I'm thinking, and it was tricky because like, you don't know, you know, normally you're meeting with executives. I've never really met with another filmmaker in this way before. So, and it was just announced that he had signed a first look deal with Universal. So I'm thinking like, all right, he's probably like trying to, you know, find, you know, I shot a movie on the iPhone, you know, maybe he wants to try to figure out something in that space, like some found horror thing. So I'm over there, you know, giving him my pitch myself and, you know, talking about some rough ideas. And then he stops me. He was like, let me tell you about Monkey Paw, you know, this new company I'm putting together kind of post Get Out. And he's like, you know, I want to, you know, all that it is now, you know, I want to do social commentary with genre and, you know, do things that are kind of left of center and the whole thing. And I was like, man, that's amazing. You know, good luck with it, yo. Like, that sounds great. And he's like, oh man, literally the first time ever meeting in person, he's like, nah, man. He's like, I'm telling you this because I think you would be a good fit to work at the company. I was like, what? I was like, doing what? He's like, you know, being an executive. I was like, you know, I've never been an executive before in my life. And he was like, that's fine. You know, like just looking for a different approach. And so,
you know what's ill though? What's
What?
ill though is you've been an executive since you started this shit. You were an executive when you started PAing. Like, if you think about like the thought process, and then like the learning, and then the implementation, and then the studying of just to get them music videos. That's what somebody sits behind a desk at a record label doing. You know what I mean? Like that. It's so anyhow. I got it. That's my takeaway on that.
Yeah, no, but I mean, long story short, not to get too lost in the weeds. Long story short, it came down to this. Like, I was like, I would love to do this, but also like, Nine Brides, it just came out. Getting a little heat, not a lot. Taking a lot of. I was on the general tour. And there were a couple of things that looked like they would be close, and I just didn't want to like have this momentum, and then like now I'm looked at as an exec and no longer a filmmaker, and so. One of the dopest things he ever did, with me, a couple of things, but the first one was like, basically, I just told him straight up. I was like, yo, I would love to do this, but I'm also a director. I've put 10 plus years into this. Like, I want to continue to direct. And, one of the things I've always wanted to do ever since I got to LA was to direct TV. And, I was telling him like, yo, if ever the opportunity arises where, I can finally get that foot in the door, to direct a television show, if it's something that makes sense kind of within your universe, like I would love, to try to go out for that opportunity. And, he was all good with it. And also like, we kind of worked out this situation where it was like, the craziest part is like Hair Love Kickstarter hit around this time. And so I also had to have like a carve out where, at nights, like I'm basically working on Hair Love, but my 9 to 5 was working at Monkey Paw. And
but so, you negotiated all of this, like get up with them.
Basically, it was just like one of those things where, like, if I book a directing job, like, it's kind of a suspend and release kind of situation where, you go off and you do that, you stop getting paid, then you come back. And so, just not a lot of dudes would have done that. You know what I'm saying? Like most cats would have shut it down off top, and you'd have been asked out. But he knew what I was trying to do, and the big point I was trying to make is that. When that opportunity came up with Last OG, that's how we were able to connect in New York. I won't get into all the details, but he definitely blessed the situation to, gave me the go ahead, to be on the approved list to do it. And, I had to definitely still convince some people to, why it was a good fit, but ultimately ended up working out. And I got my first opportunity directing the TV show directly. Because of him. And had I not met him, I probably would still be trying to figure it out, So those are the three mentors at three different places.
That's a beautiful story, man. And it's so crazy because you never know who's watching. And, I have a situation, hopefully an announcement by the time this comes out, where like, I just happened to do some pickups with some people, and we went through just some kind of tough circumstances in the production of it. And we got to know each other, and they came back to see if I wanted to hop on a project in an early stage because we walked through that fire together. And I almost didn't get that opportunity because of scheduling. So, you know what I mean? It's like, and you just never know.
Never know.
This is Barry Alexander Brown, and you're listening to Let's Shoot with Pete Chatmon.
Transitions, a director's journey and motivational handbook, is Pete Chatmon's upcoming book from Michael Weezy Productions. What started in 1993 has been a marathon of persistence and creative pivots, transitioning from indie filmmaker to teaching at NYU's acclaimed film school, to running a production company, to directing television and commercials, and ultimately eyeing a return to the feature films that gave him his start. A mixture of how-to, self-help, and inspiration, this book is for any person targeting a successful career in the creative arts. Transitions, a director's journey and motivational handbook, is coming soon.
Well, let's talk about Hair Love, because you raised over $300,000 on Kickstarter for that, right? And it feels like your branding, whether deliberate or something you were really working on through your social media presence, had a big effect in awareness for the kind of people on social media and then within the industry to kind of partner with you. Like, how did all of this come together? Like, what was like the secret cocktail to go and make this short film about a father trying to raise his daughter, you know, and do her hair and have these touching moments that we never get to see?
Well, you know, I'll tell you kind of a bit of a never told story, you know, behind the hair love situation. So, you know, again, like, I'm glad we set it up with just even talking about the athlete thing, right? You know, the big picture, right? Having a goal and the plan. And so I think this was 2014 or 15. I think it was 2015. You know, this one particular year, I'm watching the Oscars, you know, typically just like everybody else, you know, in the shorts and the documentaries and all, you know, sound editing, the sound design. Let me go get it. Let me get the food. You know, I'm at the party, you know, let me come back and for the big stuff. This one particular year, I don't know, like I was just watching the whole thing, you know, and paying close attention. And, you know, I think a brother won for documentary short that particular year. This was like a couple years before Kobe won. And then I forgot who won an animated short, but there was something about watching all these categories play out, and I paid close attention. I was like, wait, sound mixing gets an Oscar, gives a speech. Documentary short gets an Oscar, gives a speech. It looks like it's the same Oscar that Best Picture gets, the same Oscar that you know, original screenplay gets. And I promise you, and this is no lie, after watching those Oscars, I called, and I already had this idea kind of percolating, but I had never shared it. And I called my manager, Monica, and I was like, I think I have an Oscar-winning short film idea. And I was like, if we, I said, I have an idea. And I said, if we do it right, I think we can win an Oscar. This is like 2014, the idea with Hair Love. And so, you know, I think that later that same year, I put a tweet out, being bold, had this Oscar-worthy short film idea. I was like, you know, looking for a 3D animator. At the time we were trying to do it in 3D. And, you know, it was kind of crickets, right? Like nobody really responded. And that was just one of those things, like sometimes in the game, you just follow the momentum, right? So, you know, you have this idea, 3-4 months go by, no real traction, you keep it pushing. And so I don't know what it was about the summer of 2017. It was between Hair Love and this other project. And you know what happened? I met Vashti Harrison. Do you know Nisla, who did oh my God, what's the name of it? She did Jen, the indie Jen.
I'm directing an episode of Blind Spotting that she wrote.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So she posted a image for her birthday that Vashti, I guess they're good friends, that Vashti drew of her. And I had never, she had the braids and everything. I had never seen hair drawn so realistic than I've ever seen in this drawing. And so I just blindly reached out to her on IG. I was like, yo, got this project I'm working on. It's called Hair Love. Like, you know, about to do this Kickstarter in a month. And, you know, we need characters. You know, we got to, you know, I want to,
wow.
Can we connect? And this is like 6 months before her first book comes out. Now she's like 30, 100-time New York Times bestseller. But this is like 6 months before her first book comes out.
Reach out to her, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. Reach out to her. She was down. Obviously really busy because her first book was about to come out, but she was down. And so, you know, described the dad, gentle giant with locks, little girl, you know, about 6-7 years old, big hair. She loves it. And the cat. And then obviously the mom, you know, so all of this is hiding in plain sight. And so, you know, I get this artwork and, you know, what I did, the first thing I did was when I got the first image of Zuri, I tweeted it out. I said, project soon come. And the shit did like 50,000 likes.
Wow.
You know, I know in a big part because of the artwork, right?
Right.
And I was like, all right, this shit is going to be something else. You know, a lot of it was kind of like test market stuff. And
you knew it when you saw that. You were like, we got one.
When you post the first image and it does 50,000 likes, like this is, now it feels like things go viral a little easier. But back then, like, you know, shit, that might have been the biggest tweet I ever did. And before that, just to take a quick step back, that year leading up to it, I was getting a lot of signs as to, you know, maybe you should rethink this idea. And like, I was seeing a lot of videos of dads doing their daughter's hair. And every time I would repost it, same thing, 25,000 likes, 30,000. It would just do crazy numbers. And then I would also post moms with the daughter or the son, you know, 10, 15, 20,000, you know, not as big, but like, you know, maybe 100 likes, 200.
Right.
And I think there was something in a light bulb went off. It was like, all right, people, I know dads that do this shit all day, every day. And for whatever reason, people are looking at this like this is a unique thing. Like they're not used to seeing Black men in this image. And I was like, all right, if we can kind of harness this heartfeltness and this love and, you know, and this kind of general concept and put a cool story behind it, you know, this could be a monster. You know, this could be a monster. And, you know, like I said, first time tweeting an image, 50,000 plus likes, do the Kickstarter. I'll tell you the story about the day we launched the Kickstarter. Normally with Kickstarter, you have to work the shit out of the project. I remember this was my
it's a full-time job at the keyboard.
No, seriously. This was my third Kickstarter campaign. The first two, like I had to find people I went to grade school with who I ain't talked to in 20 years. And I'm sending them the link directly. Please donate to this project. You know, typically to raise about 15, 20,000, you need to have about 300, 350 people donate to your campaign. And so I'm just like playing the numbers, 300, you know, let me get this in front of 500 people. So 300 donate. And it was just, we barely made it by the skin of our teeth. But this particular project, I'll never forget. I was on my way to work to BuzzFeed. I hit publish on the Kickstarter. And normally what happens is once you push publish, you still have to send it to somebody or post it online for people to be aware and to donate.
Okay.
I hit publish. I took the train to work because at the time I didn't have a car. Went to BuzzFeed. By the time I sat at my work desk and I pulled up the Kickstarter, it had already raised like 5,000. I'm like, what the hell? I didn't even send this to anybody yet. And somehow people like found it. And you know, the initial goal was 75,000 with the goal that we were going to always try to raise more. But, you know, with Kickstarter, like if you don't hit your goal, you don't get anything. And I wanted to be conservative with that number. And we hit 75,000 in 5 days.
Wow.
5 days.
Like, and you have 30 days at least at that time, right? You had a 30-day campaign?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You can choose the amount of days and we picked 30. And we hit 75,000 in 5 days. We ended up raising around 284,000 over the course of 30 days. And, you know,
that's
Jordan,
amazing.
Yeah, it was insane, dude. It was insane. And also, I'll tell this story. The way we ended up getting our book deal was through Kickstarter as well. Monica, my manager, Monica, after seeing that image, those first images of Basti, she was like, oh man, this would be a great picture book. We should offer it as a gift and then we'll figure it out. If this is going to be an ebook or whatever, we'll figure it out. We offer a picture book, and then after it goes viral that first week, an editor from Penguin Random House sees the Kickstarter and sees that we're offering a book, and she's like, what's the deal with it? And what I didn't know, and I found out later, is that she had tried to do the deal for Vasti's first book a couple of years ago, wasn't able to get it, but was aware of her work. And so all that stuff like played into the reason why we ended up getting a book deal too. So crazy, man.
That's dope. That's dope. Well, if there's somehow anybody watching this or listening who failed to see the film, you need to check out Hair Love. It's beautifully done. So well so that people out here trying to copy the shit. But we'll leave that alone.
My name's Ben and I ain't in
it. You know, you are writer, director, producer, editor, executive, social media influencer. And I think that I don't know if you claim that, but I say that because you have engagement. Like you post shit and people respond, right? And so I'll come across other people retweeting you that I don't know. But, oh yeah, that started from Cherry. Okay.
That's funny.
But like what was the hardest thing with all of those various skills? Like what was the hardest thing to learn when you transitioned into directing episodic television?
Ooh, episodic television. Man, TV is just like, you know, it's just the politics of it, man, you know, and then the not knowing. And I think Hollywood is a very like passive aggressive industry anyway, you know, off top. And so a lot of times people may have an issue or, you know, want to say something, but they don't. And then, you know, you find out later, you're like, damn, I didn't know it was an issue. You know, I think the big thing in TV is just the politics of it all, you know. And I think the thing I'm so happy about is that, and you never know it at the time. You're like, God, why isn't this happening for me? Like, I've wanted this for like 10 plus years. How come this has not happened? Like, I'm applying to directors programs, like coming right off the heels of our South by Southwest announcement the first time, trying to apply to like the ABC Director Fellowship and the Sony one and all of them, and like nothing, can't even get an interview.
Right.
Movie in a major festival, can't even get a damn interview. And I'm like, maybe this just isn't meant for me. And the thing I'm so grateful for is the fact that it did take so long. So what ends up happening, and you can attest to this, every project, big or small, short film, web series, music video, you're gonna come across an issue. You're gonna be tested live in the field. Like, okay, yeah. I have 5 setups and I only have an hour left to shoot. What do you do? I have this difficult actor who doesn't want, who has an issue with a crew member. What do? You basically are getting live tested in every single scenario, so that by the time you are put in this game in a real way, it's like, all right, boom, this is just like the situation I dealt with on the little young web series, 15 years ago. That's easy. This is how I'm gonna play it. So, I think it was delayed for me because I needed all of those lessons. And, now it's like a breeze, like it really is a smooth process. And, every issue under the sun, I'd already gone through it on my own projects. And, I'm sure you can attest to that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you find like, what's like the thing that gives you the most confidence in TV directing? Is it, yeah.
I've never been like a big technical guy. Like, I always know generally kind of what I like it to look like. But, the thing I always look forward to is just like the blocking and the working with the actors, like, however the sausage gets made, like I'm good either way. Like, I just love that whole process and like figuring out problems. Okay, you have an issue with this. Like, all right, let's figure this out, like, to me, that's like, that's when I like turn on, man. That's just like my favorite thing in the world to do is like problem solve. And, you get into this game in a minute and, that definitely can be a bit of a burden, but, once you realize that that's just the game, like directing in TV is answering questions. It's all it is,
Yeah. Do you have, I ask this question of directors, and a lot of times it's like, oh, that's like picking which kid is my favorite. But for whatever reason you might discern, do you have a favorite moment or scene, of which you're most proud?
Oh, man, a favorite scene. Man, yeah, I see why they say that. Yeah, that's a hard one, man. I think one I'll say is probably from the first one I did, Last OG. There's a scene where Tiffany and Tracy are giving their son Shazad the police talk. And, there's a lot of comedy, but also a lot of realness and drama in there. And I think it was just one of those scenes where it's like, if you land it, you understand what the show is and kind of what this episode is. And, to kind of come out of that victorious, and there was definitely a lot of landmines in it because, everybody has their different approach, actors, producers, writers, but, to come out of that situation with a really solid scene was kind of one of those things where like, you go home at the end of that night, you're like, I think I could do this for real, like this was fun.
Right. What is the difference now? Because coming out of the Oscar win, and I know you've got for the show, what's the title of the show? Is it Young Love?
It's called Young Love. Yep. Young
Love. And so like now you have a deal with Warner. Like, how does that work now as a director who's building out a slate? Like, what are you finding are the differences there?
It's tricky, man. It's tricky, man, because, I love directing and there's nothing I'd rather do. And, being in the writer's room is a totally different process, It's very much being in the weeds and figuring out every single element of a show. And I think the more I go through it, the more I'm kind of like, I think, there are a couple of specific examples where I want to be involved at this level. But other than that, I just want to direct, I love that part of the game. And so, you have to make a lot of adjustments, man. Like I've had to turn down a lot of gigs just in that,
really?
This year I'm really trying to build up my own stuff and, get some balls going on my own and, hopefully get a pilot this year too. Like those are kind of my big goals. And, but yeah, man, I think the cool thing with TV directing, and I knew this even back when I was PAing, was like, man, you see these dudes, they be having 40, 50-year careers, man. Like, you could break in, like, you'll always work. And I think that's the thing. It's like, no matter how poppin' or slow development, my own development stuff gets, like, there's always that to come back to. And that's something I'm really looking forward to.
Right. All right. So we turn in the corner here. I have a few questions I'd like to ask everybody. If you had the keys to the castle and could change anything about the business or about being a director, what would it be?
What would it be? More days. Just more time, man. More time to do it right, Like, there's so many parts of, I think, TV directing where, like, there's a part of the clock that's motivating, but there's also a part of the clock that can be very limiting. And, sometimes you're just like, you're basically trying to fit in this already established puzzle. And, I wish in some instances, it was a little bit more freeing in terms of, putting your own flavor on it.
Right. What's it like to take a hit in the NFL?
Luckily, I was on the practice squad my rookie year and, was bouncing around a lot after that. So, luckily I didn't have to experience that too much, which is probably why I still have my faculties to direct now. But, it ain't fun at any level, man. High school, college, you know what I mean? Like, I've definitely gotten tagged a few times and, sometimes you just got to get back up, man, and not let them know it hurt.
Like Jim Brown, right? He said he got up slow every time, so you never know if he was actually hurt.
Exactly.
What is one film or TV show that directors should watch and why?
That's a good one. Man, honestly, man, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you. And the reason why I say that is just like every show is different, like you almost need to, I almost want to say the show that you're getting ready to direct, watch old episodes of that just because they're doing it on one show doesn't necessarily mean you can do it on this one. Right. But, I do think it's important though to watch TV, just like to be a fan of TV too, and to kind of see what everybody else is doing. Like, that's how you pick up really cool tricks by, watching what other people are doing too. So yeah, I don't have a definitive answer for you on that one.
Gotcha. And here's the final two. I'm interviewing Nicole Bahari in a few days.
Hey.
Any question I should ask her that'll stump her? That'll
stump her.
That'll catch her off guard.
Oh man, I don't know about that.
Or that you want to know.
You know what? I don't really, luckily, like I've remained friends with her and, I feel like I do know a lot about her. I think the only thing I want to say about Nicole is, man, I just think she's the most talented, man, just even hearing her name is just like, wow. Like, and just talk about somebody who has gotten like a bit of a raw deal in the game. You know what I'm saying? Just like, somebody who should always work and always be on the show, if she very chooses that fate. I don't know, man. I just let me think. That was stump her. Nah, that would be inappropriate.
All right.
I'll bring it up on the
offline.
Yeah.
Well, the last one is who should be our next guest? We talk to actors, directors. I'm about to bring in some executives because I think that's another part of the game that a lot of folks are kind of in the dark about. But anybody you think?
Oh man, really any of the three, kind of quasi mentor figures that I mentioned for sure. Also just oh man. Let me think. I definitely think that. I think also, I think you should start getting into some animation as well. I think that's a medium that, me having come from live action, it definitely was something that I was really afraid of. Like, damn, like I can't even draw like that. So how the hell am I going to, direct animation? And you
Right.
know, at the end of the day, it's still a story, you know, and if you're with the right people and the right crew and studio, like they'll surround you with people that do that and do it well. You just have to be
Right.
very good at articulating your vision. And you know, look what ended up happening with Hair Love, you know, would not have been able to do that project without Bruce Smith, Everett Downing, you know, Karen Tolliver, you know, so many great people that just do this every day, all day. Frank Abney, Peter Ramsey. You know what? I would say Peter Ramsey and Frank Abney, and I'll say them both in that Peter's getting ready to shoot his first live action film.
Okay.
So I think that would be a good one for you. And then Frank Abney, just I know he's getting ready to start his Oscar run for Canvas. So you know, I think those are two really good ones for you that'll hopefully open up the animation game to you as well.
Word. Well, I got it all written down, brother. I can't tell you.
Wait, Kemp Powers.
Yeah.
Kemp Powers too. Yep.
Oh, word. And because he wrote Soul, correct?
Yep. Soul.
And One Night in Miami, which was dope.
Yep.
I totally, as you do on Twitter, I totally agree with your review of the film.
Yeah, man, really well done. You just don't see like Black men depicted in that way in film. Like it was really cool to see like the love and also the accountability, you know?
Right. Yeah, man, no doubt. Well, look, man, I can't thank you enough. It's been super dope watching the journey. It's been a pleasure. Just kind of seeing you on shows before and after and being able to get the scoop from you, but most importantly to watch all the projects you're making, man. And just, you know, I watched Forward again, your short film that you did, the black and white joint. Man. I watched that again today just to see what you were doing back in, what was that, 2010, 2012 maybe?
Mm-hmm.
And I love that you've never stopped telling stories, never stopped trying to push the envelope and do it creatively. And all while trying to figure out how to make it in this game, because this is at the end of the day, that it's show business and we got to figure out how to get on the court, you know?
Yeah, man. So. No, man. I mean, the crazy thing about Forward and music videos is like, they're all silent. So it's like trying to tell a story without dialogue, you know, like all that really folded in nicely into Hair Love, you know?
Exactly. Yep. It all leads to the same thing, man.
Yeah.
Well, that's the deal. Appreciate you, man. And
no doubt, you too.
I'll see you on set, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, you already know, man. Look, you know, whenever I get these other shows going, please know that I'm gonna be hitting you to do some pilots and whatnot.
Well, please call, because I'm here.
Amen.
All right, man. Say what's up to wifey.
Will do. You already know.
What's up, people? This is Pete Chatmon. Follow me on Instagram and on Twitter via @PeteChatmon. Follow the pod on Facebook on our Let's Shoot with Pete Chatmon official page, and hit up our mailbag with questions, suggestions, or hey, donations if you're feeling like it, via Let's Shoot with Pete Chatmon @gmail.com. And just in case you need to know how to spell it, that's Pete with the last name Chatmon. All right, that was episode 22, people, with Mr. Matthew A. Cherry. I hope you enjoyed that. I want to make a little exit point here. We recorded that in late January, early February, and listening back to it, recording this intro today on Saturday, the 20th of March, I had to remark and appreciate on the fact that he mentioned getting a pilot was one of his goals. And as I outlined in the beginning of this intro for the episode, he has the pilot episode and I think episode 2 of Kings of Napa, about a Black wine family in Napa Valley, from Janine Sherman Bois as a showrunner from Claws as her most recent project. And it's just beautiful to look at these things come to fruition. So I think the takeaway from our convo is really look at what putting your head down, doing the work, and taking advantage of all the available platforms can get you, while also being a good dude. Because a lot of that comes back to people clearly enjoying their time with Matthew and finding that not only is he a creative person, but somebody you want to be around on set. So consider that. And with that, I'll let you know that next week on episode 23, we will have the lovely and talented Zinga Stewart. She most recently directed a couple episodes of Little Fires Everywhere. She's got a new project with Zoe Saldana and Hello Sunshine, Reese Witherspoon's company, that we'll chat about. And she's just a really super talented person that I've known from my days in New York, from her days doing music videos. And I think you'll enjoy what she'll have to share about the journey to being a director, a pilot director, a producer, a feature film director. She's all things. And I had the pleasure of shadowing her back in 2017 on Grey's Anatomy episode 1320, where I met my wife. So tune in next week. And in the meantime, stay safe, spread love, and create. That's what we're going to do.